good morning to everyone joining, in the Asian markets, and good afternoon and good evening to everyone joining the Canadian market. So we're excited to bring this webinar in partnership with HomeAbroad. I think after we go through this webinar, you'll see the good partnership we have and the attempt that we're making to bring our clients more of a full service option and just make the home buying process in the States as easy as we can. So I'm sure most of you know, my name is Nick Worthing. I'm with American Mortgages. I'll give a quick highlight just of our company, and then we will turn it over to our partners, Amresh and Michele, to cover HomeAbroad, and then we'll get started with the webinar agenda. So just a quick introduction of American Mortgages. We are a mortgage brokerage company. We're based out of Singapore. We've got offices and loan officers throughout Asia, Europe, and Canada. And we have a sole focus on providing real estate financing for foreign national investors or American citizens living outside of the country. So all the loans that we do are for people that are outside the country, for loans that are in the country. So we're very familiar with processing these loans, the different documentation between the countries, and getting these loans through. So with that, I'd like to, I'm pleased to introduce our partners, HomeAbroad, and I will turn it over to Michele and Amresh. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, about the company, and then we will bring it back to dive right into the agenda.
Thanks, Nick. It's great to have all you guys here. I'm Michele Lawrie, Chief Real Estate Officer at HomeAbroad, and I'm going to let Amresh introduce himself.
Awesome. Thank you, Michele. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for the introduction. Hello, everyone. We really appreciate everyone joining this webinar today. I'm Amresh Singh. I'm the founder and CEO of HomeAbroad. It is really exciting for me to speak with you all today, as you are precisely the reason why I founded HomeAbroad, to make it simple and easier for foreign nationals to invest in US real estate. As a foreign national, who has invested in the US real estate myself, I know that two burning questions when you're deciding if buying a property in the US is the right investment for you: the why and the how. The why should you invest in the US real estate as a non-resident? The how does the US home buying process works for a non-resident? We will answer the how part shortly, but let me spend some time talking about the why part. So why should you invest in the US real estate as a non-US citizen? Well, firstly, there are no restrictions or additional taxes for non-resident investors purchasing US real estate, unlike some other countries. In fact, non-US citizens have the same home ownership rights in the US as citizens. Secondly, the availability of the long-term US mortgages, as Nick mentioned, you can get a 15-year fixed or 30-year fixed mortgages in the US without requiring an established US credit. Then you have excellent rental yields in the US, which means, on an average, if you think about last year, 2021, the average rental yield in the US was around 8%. If you're buying your house in the right markets, it can go as high as 10 to 12%, which means in most scenarios, you'll be able to generate positive cash flow after making your monthly mortgage and property tax payments, which is huge. In addition, you have a stable and secure investment that appreciates in value every year in the largest economy in the world. Then you have favorable tax codes in the US, like 1031 exchange, which allows you to swap out an investment property for another and defer your capital gains. I don't know any other market where this exists. And last but not the least, even after recent increase in the home prices in the US, the real estate prices in the US is still comparatively cheaper when you compare it to the other metro areas in the world, and I can keep going, guys, the list goes on, but this is where HomeAbroad comes in to help you. HomeAbroad is a one-stop shop for foreign buyers of US real estate. We help you connect with lenders like American Mortgages, who are expert in foreign national mortgages with no US credit. HomeAbroad also helps you find the right real estate agent who is experienced in working with foreign national clients and understands the complexities and unique situations of a cross-border real estate transaction. HomeAbroad agents have CIPS, or Certified International Property Specialist designation in the US, which means that they have gone through specialized training in working with foreign nationals like yourselves. In addition, we can also help you get access to other financial products in the US, like opening a bank account, etc. With that, I'll pass it now to Nick to continue on our webinar topic on how US home buying process works. So Nick, over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Amresh and Michele. So so let's dive into the agenda today. So the topic of the webinar is really how does a home buying process as a foreign investor work in the States? Our team of loan officers takes calls every day from clients all around the world. And the number, I guess the first two questions we get from them all the time are, is it even possible to get a mortgage in the US? If so, and if so, how? The answer is, absolutely yes. I mean, like I said earlier, that's frankly our whole business. We've got a number of different ways to qualify for the mortgages. The one thing to keep in mind, and Amresh mentioned this earlier, is there's no need for any US income. There's no need for any US credit. We have programs and lenders that are able to document your income in your home country, your credit in your home country, to process the loan through. So I thought I'd give you a quick highlight just on the terms and the process as far as step one in the process, which should be the pre-approval. So in the US, to get a real estate agent really engaged and the seller engaged in the offer process, you're really either going to need to show two things in the process. You either need to show a bank statement that shows that you've got enough funds to make a cash offer, or you need to show a pre-approval letter to the agent and seller to show that you've got financing set up. The second piece of the pre-approval is what our team can help with and what our clients are looking for. So the pre-approval letter is basically a letter that we issue back to you, that you pass on to your real estate agent, that says you're pre-approved for a purchase price up to X and a loan amount up to X. It gives the seller and the real estate agent some certainty that your documents have been looked at and a loan is viable. Good to give you some highlights on the terms available. I mentioned earlier, we have basically two ways to qualify. We can either qualify with your income in your home country. So that goes by way of an income letter. And if you're self-employed or employed, it has no difference to us. It might sound strange, but actually self-employed is actually a fair bit easier for us to get through as far as gathering the documents. But we would gather your income in your home country, your credit in your home country by way of a credit report. And then we do a calculation with how much money you're bringing in versus going out, including the new purchase, and issue you back a letter that says how much you can qualify for. Another option that's become quite popular over the past, I would say 6 to 12 months, is a no personal income documentation loan. So this is a program that a lot of lenders have created that focuses just on the investment property's cash flow. So you're not going to provide any income documents personally. Everything from the underwriting is going to be based on the property itself. So just to give you a quick highlight, we're either going to use the in-place rents, or if the home is vacant, which most times it is at time of purchase, then we will use a rental estimate from the appraiser. As long as either of those numbers are sufficient to cover the mortgage payment, the loan moves forward. So very easy, very streamlined underwriting process. The customers really like it because there's not a lot of documents that they need to provide to get the loan through, and just most times results in a quick close. So as far as loan terms available, there's as a foreign national, you can typically expect about 75% of the purchase price to be financed. So you're going to put in a minimum of 25% down. We have a minimum loan amount of $150,000, so that puts your minimum purchase price of, say, $200,000. Anything up from $200,000 and up, we are able to help finance. The loan term or loan types, I guess I should say, in the States, there's a number of them available. I'll touch on the two most popular, which was mentioned earlier, is a 30-year fix, which is unique to the US. It's actually regardless of age, so it doesn't matter your age, you can get a 30-year loan in the States. The 30-year fixed is a fixed payment, fixed rate. Everything stays the same for 30 years. You do it once and you don't have to touch it again. The other option that's gotten quite popular, I'm sure, rate increases have been kind of the talk of the world lately. And with rates rising, an option that's gotten, or strategy, I should say, that's gotten quite popular with our investors is an interest-only option. So there's different terms for the interest-only. Usually it's about 7 to 10 years. And this strategy allows, because you're only paying the interest portion of the payment for that period, it keeps the property payment down and the mortgage payment down and the property's cash flow up. A lot of investors are really looking at the cash flow each month, and they really like that option to help get through these times of higher rates. If we see any rate improvement in the upcoming years, or we'll definitely see some equity improvement, and they'll refinance at that time. So so that's basically the loan terms available. I'll touch on the process and the pre-approval. So as a new customer, you would call in, set up a call with one of our loan officers. Our team is very good of getting to know what your program, what your specifics are like, what you're looking for, the documentation you're able to provide, and then tailoring a loan program that's going to fit and be able to be approved and closed. We would then send you a list of the items that are required to start the pre-approval process. Once those items are received back by our team, we can typically issue a pre-approval letter in about 3 to 4 days, depending on the file, sometimes much sooner. And then once you've got that pre-approval letter, we will send you back the letter. You'll send it to your real estate agent. And then from that point, you're free to start shopping. And I guess that would be a good transition back to Michele and her team to start talking about the process from there. So.
Great. Now that Nick did such a great job talking to you about the pre-approval process, I get the fun part. I get to talk to you about the purchase process. So the very first thing that we're going to do is connect you with the CIPS agent that Amresh was speaking about earlier. The Certified International Property Specialist is going to set you up on the portal with the multiple listing service. From there, you'll be able to give them the criteria that you're looking for in the investment property. They understand the market that you're in, and they can also suggest areas to be in, types of homes to look into. They're very, very good at what they do in that aspect. So once that happens, they will, and also too, that is more up-to-date information. When you're on the MLS portal, you're getting the up-to-date, accurate information, as opposed to maybe Zillow or companies like Zillow that don't offer that. So then once that happens, they'll have you set up, and then you will start receiving homes pretty much on a daily basis. Anything that comes into the inventory will hit you immediately. Then the agent you can tell your agent, hey, I want to see this home. If you're not in the country, they can FaceTime you, they can WhatsApp you, whatever video device that you prefer. The agent can show you the home through that. Or if you're in the country, you can go and see the home personally with the agent. Once you do find a home you like, then you and the agent will work out a purchase contract. So with that, you'll discuss the price of the home. In some cases, you're going to find yourself in multiple offers, and that's okay. It happens. And the agent will walk you through that. They'll guide you through that. They're very, very experienced in that. And you'll be able to put a bid on the home. Sometimes you have to go in highest and best, but you have your pre-approval and you'll be ready to go. You're armed for battle. So you're ready to go and can definitely put that offer in. Then once you do secure a property, what will happen is you will have a home inspection. So the home inspector will go out and they'll look at the home. They will look at every nook and cranny of the home, things that you don't see or your agent doesn't see when they walk through. The inspector gets in there and really looks into the home. And they will tell you the good and the bad, the good, the bad, the ugly of the home. And then from there, you decide if you want to proceed with the home, if you want to negotiate terms, whatever works best, and your agent will guide you through that process as well. Then you'll put down an escrow deposit. And the escrow deposit is money down on the home. It's a certain percent, typically at 1%, but depending on what market you're in, the agent will guide you through that as well. And that money will come off your closing cost. So it's not additional money, it just comes off your closing cost. Then you are in contract. So what'll happen is the title companies, or if there's two ways that states work. They're either a title company or an attorney state. So the title company or the attorney will work out title and look at title, and they get very much involved and make sure that there's no problem with the title so that they can pass it along to you. Then you're just waiting to close. And when closing day comes, that's when Nick jumps in again.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the background there. So I thought I'd make a couple points on the closing process. So one of the common questions we have is, when the loan closes, do I need to fly to the US? And a lot of times people think that is the case. And the answer is no. I mean, most of our loan closings actually happen internationally. Our team is very experienced. I mean, since we're all around the world, we're very experienced in arranging these signings. There's a number of different ways you can sign a mortgage overseas. Just to give you a few, it's either a US embassy, if you're able to get in there. There's a number of options for online signings, and then local notaries and processes in your country. So you do not need to fly to the US. We do certainly have customers that want to fly there for the closing, see the home. So that's perfectly fine as well. And then to give you an idea on timeline in the US, just because real estate transactions take different amounts of time around the world. So once you've got the accepted offer and you're in contract, as Michele mentioned, it's typically a 30 to 45 day close from there. So from that point, 30 to 45 days, you can expect to be closing on the home. That's a typical number, whether you're in the States as a buyer or outside the country. So the fact that you're outside the country, you're in no way coming from behind. I mean, we can definitely meet the same timelines as anybody that's right down the road from the home. So yeah, that's just a brief coverage of the process available. Michele and Amresh, do you guys have anything you want to add before we open to question and answer?
Yeah, if I could just add too, with the certified international property specialist, as well as them understanding their own market, they understand the intricacies of the foreign investor and how they purchase. So when there's currency differences, they understand and know how to guide the purchaser into how to move their money into the US. They understand cultural differences and traditions. So they're very sensitive to that and aware. The certified international property specialist is definitely the way to go if you're purchasing in the US.
Agreed. I think it's definitely, doing this for quite some time and working with investors from overseas. I think it's very important, like any major transaction, it's very important to surround yourself with a team that is comfortable and experienced. And it's a very different market for financing somebody that's overseas versus in the US. And it's the same on the real estate agent side. When you're dealing with when you're in the US and you're dealing with somebody that's in the US, it's a very different dynamic than working with an agent in the US and a borrower, in say Israel or any other country for that matter. So right. It's very important to surround yourself with a team that is comfortable doing that. And I think both our companies are very comfortable with that. So
absolutely. And they go through a very intense training process to get their certified international property specialist designation. It's a very intense training. So it really does hold a lot of value to the client.
Right. Just to kind of summarize, right, guys, I think it boils down to working with the specialist, right? So working with a specialist lender that understand foreign nationals, understand foreign national transactions, working with a specialist real estate agent that understand foreign nationals and foreign national transactions. And once you, are working with the right people, things will go in the right direction. That's pretty much the summary of it. With that, I think, Nick, we can probably open that to questions.
Yeah, sure. So we'll take some questions at this time. There's a question and answer box. So any questions you have, please feel free to put them in there, and we will take them one by one. So, we do have one question. I knew this was on a lot of people's minds because we get it a lot. So the question is, with interest rates at 6% plus, what are the chances of getting anything cash flow neutral or positive with a 30-70 loan to value split? So the question is really, if I'm going to put 30% down, finance 70%, with rates where they are right now in the sixes, how can I find something that's even cash flow break even or positive? And I think you'd be very surprised the amount or the strength of the cash flow in the US market. There are, I would say probably 80% of loans that we do on a monthly basis are underwritten on this cash flow model. So that means 80% of the loans that we do each month are cash flow positive homes. And there's a lot, and this one piece that a real estate agent can definitely help you with, but there's a lot of markets. Some of the common markets that we're doing are North Florida. The Georgia, Atlanta suburb market is very strong. Even properties like states, like in Indiana, Indianapolis, and those areas you can find a lot of very strong cash flow positive. So with rates at 6%, plus there's still a lot of good options out there. And like I said, there's also options of the interest only, which keeps that payment down and the cash flow up. So good question. Next question will go to HomeAbroad. So what is the fee for HomeAbroad service?
I can take that question, Nick. So our service is 100% free for the customer. So there's no fee that HomeAbroad charges. And I also saw another question regarding real estate agents. So just to kind of educate the audience on that as well. So as a buyer of the property in the US, you don't pay any commission to the real estate agent. The seller of the property does. So when you work with a real estate agent as a buyer, you don't pay anything to the agent. The agent makes his money from the seller of the property. So I think that's something that's very unique in the US as well. I just wanted to bring that up as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. We do actually get that question a lot from clients, and really as a buyer in the US, there's absolutely no reason you should go into the transaction without an agent. You're not paying for it. There's just too many items that need to be covered, that it makes total sense to have some sort of representation on your end. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yep.
So next question is, for the mortgage, what would be acceptable foreign income documents, pay stub, employment letter, what exactly will be required? So this question will be, it's more of a case-by-case basis, but just to give you some highlights, if we're going to document your income in your home country, a lot of times that's done by an income letter. So if you're employed, we have a template for the income letter, which your employer would complete, and it just outlines what you've made the past 2 years in gross income versus and also year to date. If you're self-employed, we have the same template, and that's completed by your accountant. Same thing, what your company and yourself have made the past 2 years and what you've made year to date. We don't take any pay stubs, tax returns, anything like that. Everything is done by way of the income letter for the investment properties. And if there's any, like I said, it's a case by case. So if there's anything else that might be needed or required, your loan officer will tell you about that on the call when they send you the package for pre-approval. So good question. The next question is 20 to 25% down an option for an investment property? So yes, it is. So the so for foreign national, for anybody that's a non-US citizen, you're going to be capped at 75% loan to value. So that's a minimum of 25% down. If you're an American citizen or have a permanent residency in the US, you are able to get 80% down or 80% financing, so 20% down. So both of those options are available depending on your situation. Here's a good question. So can you easily arrange renovations if required? Yeah, so we can offer, from American Mortgage side, we can offer, a lot of the loans we do are, say, quote unquote, rent ready homes. So they're homes that don't require renovation. You simply buy them, there's a tenant in them, or you're putting a tenant in. And then we also do a fair amount of fix and flip or fix and rent. And the fix and rent, it's often called a burst strategy, where you're buying a property, doing some rehab, renting it out, and then refinancing into a long-term loan. So we do have options for properties that require minimal or even significant rehab.
And to piggyback off that, Nick, if you do find a home that does require renovations, your agent, your real estate agent, your SIPS real estate agent is going to have a whole phone full of contacts that will be able to help you do that as well. They will be able to connect you with the right people to get that done.
Yeah, correct. And so next question, we'll go over to HomeAboard. So where can I find the specialized agent that Michele mentioned?
You can go right to our website, www.homeabroadinc.com, and you can fill out the form, and we will connect you with a real estate agent in any area that you're that you want to look into.
Great. Next question is around closing costs. So the question is, how much are closing costs, and are these costs clearly identified by the lender? Yeah, so the mortgage process in the States is highly regulated, and the amount of disclosures that need to be sent from the lender to the buyer are pretty significant. So everything will be lined out on the front end of the process, and you'll have a clear idea of what the closing costs. It depends on the loan program and type of loan or home you're purchasing. Typically 3 to 4% is a good estimate for closing costs. But again, everything will be laid out either by our team or by the lender's team at the front of the process. So going into it, you have a good idea of what your final cash to close will be. And so this question is this, sorry, I didn't catch the specific term. I think you're referencing the international agents. That's a SIPS agent, CIPS.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It stands for Certified International Property Specialist. So that's a designation that's offered by NAR, National Association of Realtors. So it's a specialized training that these agents take to have the designation.
Next question is, how can I connect with a certified international real estate agent? I have a pre-approval already. So, that would be a question for HomeAbroad.
So like Michelle mentioned, you can visit our website at www.homeabroadinc.com, or, you can email Michelle or me, after this webinar. Our contact details will be shared, I'm assuming, Nick. If not, then we can probably email back to the group.
I'm going to put my email and phone number right in the chat box. I did see one gentleman who has a property in mind already, Hugh Chen. You can definitely reach out to me, and anybody can reach out to me this evening. I'm going to put my email and phone number right in the chat box.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Michelle. Let's do that.
And next question, this also comes up quite a bit. So would a loan application go on our country credit report? Because if we keep making loan applications one after another, then it does not look good here. So if I think you're referencing your foreign credit report. The lenders in the US don't have access to either reports or say you're in a country, Singapore, for example. Singapore's got its own credit agency. The US lenders don't have the ability to report your US liabilities on that report. And it's the same thing as they don't have the access to pull that report. So when you're applying for the loan, when we ask for the credit report, it's actually going to be yourself that goes and generates a PDF of that report and then provides it to us, just because there's no connectivity between the different agencies in the US. So it's not going to reflect on your foreign credit report. But I do agree with what you're saying. A lot of inquiries in your home country would affect your credit score. Next question is American Mortgages the actual lender or a loan broker? And yeah, so to be clear on that, we are a mortgage broker. So we've got a number of different lenders in the US that focus only on foreign national investors. And we, depending on your profile, where you're buying a home, how you're qualifying, we will pair you with the best lender. Usually we'll provide you a couple options, and then we can discuss from there which is the best option for you, and then move forward with the lender. But we're not the end lender. We are a broker in the process. Next question is, I'm a Canadian citizen looking for a mortgage in the US. Well, you've come to the right place. So we can definitely we get a lot of business out of the Canadian markets. We can certainly help with the financing piece, and Michelle and her team can also help with the the real estate agent side. So we have your info, and we'll reach out after to take it further. Next question is American Mortgages a bank? No, we're not. So that goes back to the piece of if we're the lender or broker. We're not a lender. We are a broker, and the banks that we're using are all banks within the US. So the mortgage process is very similar to if you were in the US applying for the loan. The next question is, whom can I connect for cross-border mortgage? That's going to be us. So like I said, we will reach out with the next steps, and we can set up a call to discuss your request. And I see that you've identified a property, so we can reach out after this and set up a quick call. Next question is, any additional costs for non-residents as foreign buyers? No. So I think Amresh touched on this a little bit earlier. So the process is the same, whether you're a foreign national or a US citizen. The process and cost of buying a home in the US are the same. So you're not there's no difference if you're not a US citizen as far as costs are concerned.
And not only the cost, Nick, also the home ownership rights, like you can continue to own and have the same right for home ownership as any US citizen. So that's really makes US unique, if compared to other countries.
The US encourages foreign investment. It's one country that really encourages that.
Yeah, good point. And so this is one that we get quite a bit, and I am going to deflect it as we have to. So the answer is, or the question is, I understand you cannot give tax advice, but by any chance, do you have any information on how buying a property in the US will impact tax status and are we required to file tax returns in the US? So you're 100% correct, is we cannot provide tax advice. The good thing is we do have, since we get this question quite a bit, we do have partners on the CPA side that do focus on foreign investors. We actually did a webinar just last month with a partner on the accounting side. So I will actually send you the link to that webinar. It might answer a lot of your questions. And then if you've got further questions from there, we can definitely set up a call with another partner. So this next one says, boy, lots of questions. So it's a good group. If I were to start my investment property journey in the US, should I first get in touch with you to get mortgage options, or should I first look for the SIP special agent from HomeAbroad? Good question. I think you should start on the financing side with us, because it's important to know how you can qualify, what you can qualify for, if the documents that we're going to be requesting on the mortgage side, if you're able to obtain them, or if it's easy to obtain them, or maybe there's a different program we need to get. But once you engage a real estate agent and start seeing homes, you're going to get excited. You're going to find a home that you like, and then you're going to want to move on it quick. So it's important that you have the financing piece already set up. So let's have that conversation first. We can talk to you about the pre-approval letter. And then once you approach a real estate agent, you're already prepared. So good question. Next question is, what's the current rate of interest? It ranges depending on the property and your profile. Right now, it was mentioned earlier, right now rates on investment properties are about 6%, 6 to 6.5%, depending on your profile. Will the loan show up on my Canadian credit reports? Like I said earlier, it will not. So US mortgages will show on US credit, and foreign income, there's no tie into the foreign credit report. Next question. It would be good to get a couple of templates of all costs, few states included. Yeah, so I can reach out to you after. So like Michelle said, there's different types of states in the US, either attorney states or escrow states or title states for closing. So the closing costs for each state are going to be different. And we can discuss, what the differences might be and the costs involved. So, but typically the 3 to 4% rule is a good estimate of those costs. Next question might be for HomeAbroad. So do you provide property management services, either long or short terms, or have contacts for those services?
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead, Amresh, you go ahead.
Sorry, Michelle, just to quickly, right? So right now we are doing that on an ad hoc basis, but that is something that we plan to add to our list of services we offer, right? So if you need something, do reach out to us. While we are not offering that at a wider scale as of this point, that's something that we want to add to our arsenal, right? Because we truly want to be the one-stop shop for foreign buyers of US real estate, right? So we're gonna be adding property management services. We're going to be adding CPAs. We're going to adding everything that a foreign national buyer would need, to purchase property in the US. So while we are not doing that on a wider scale right now, we can do that on an ad hoc basis right now. Michelle, sorry, go ahead.
And your real estate agent that you work with will also be able to connect you with the property manager as well.
The next question is around visas. And do I need a visa to purchase property in the US? And for most lenders, the answer is yes. And that can be as simple as a tourist visa. It doesn't need to be anything long-term. But a lot of times, just the ability to enter the US will be required. There are a few lenders that will do a loan just based on a valid passport. So our team can help with that conversation as well. Next question says, HomeAbroad mentioned the service is free of charge. What all will the service include? So I guess this goes around HomeAbroad's service with customers.
So we pretty much, we'll provide you the free concierge service, right? So we'll connect with you with the right specialist, so right lender, right real estate agent. Plus we handhold you through the entire process, right? So we'll be the point of contact for you to answer any questions, to like if you need any other additional services, to be there for you. So we'll pretty much make sure that we are hand-holding you through the process through a free concierge service and connecting you with the right experts. And we don't charge anything to our customers. 100% free service to our customers.
Great. And next question again is back to the visas. Yeah, so there are a number of so-called called visa waiver countries for the US where they don't actually require a visa. And if you're from one of those countries, then correct, you do not need a visa. We pull up the country you're from, identify it on that list, and send it off to underwriting, and the loan moves forward. So good question. Back to rates. What would be typical rates for these mortgages? How much higher are they for a US income earner? That's actually a good point, and one to confirm. So rates right now are going to, so again, depending on your situation, rates are going to range from 6% to say about 6.5% as a foreign national. If you are a American citizen buying the same property, so an American citizen buying an investment property, your rates right now are going to be, I would say mid to high fives. So as a foreign national, you're actually not as far off from an American citizen as you might think. But you do need to keep in mind that we're not requiring US credit, we're not requiring US income. So given the lack of documentation and footprint in the US, the spread for the rate for a non-US citizen isn't as high as you might think. So the loan will show up on a US credit report. And do I need a social security number? You do not need a US social security number to do the mortgage. And you don't need US credit. So we can process the loan just strictly as a foreign national with no US credit, and we'd use your Canadian credit report. What are the fees? So as a company, we are a mortgage broker, so we charge a brokerage fee. It's paid at closing. That fee is typically 2% of the loan amount. And a lot of times we can actually add it onto the loan. So our team will actually go over those with you when they go through the fees on the front end, and we'll identify which fees can be added into the loan and which fees need to be paid at closing. Next question is, where can I find cash flow positive properties in Florida? I'll say we're doing a lot of loans in the Tampa and Jacksonville area right now, but definitely a real estate agent in those different cities, and maybe HomeAbroad, if you guys have any comments on the Florida market, you can take it as well.
Orlando too has been a very hot area for that, but as far as positive cash flow, the Tampa area and like you said, Jacksonville is up there.
Great. Yeah, Orlando is actually a great market for the short-term rentals. You'd be surprised the amount of cash that some of those properties bring in on an Airbnb. So are these loans open loans or can be paid off later on? So that question is regards to the prepayment penalty. So if it's an investment property, the loans have typically a 3-year prepayment penalty. The penalty piece is different for each bank. So we'll discuss with you which bank your loan's going to be with and what their particular prepayment penalty, but you can usually think of it as a 3-year prepayment penalty. So that means if you were to pay the loan off within the first 3 years, you could be subject to a penalty. After year 3, you can pay it off at any time. So 30-year fixed, you don't need to hold the loan for 30 years. You can pay it off in year 4 if you'd like, with 0 penalty. Next question, is it possible to get a rate of 4 to 5% as a foreign national if you put a higher down payment? If so, what's the usual down payment? And just to be honest, right now, it's not possible to get in the 4 to 5% as foreign national. If we were speaking in January, yeah, I mean, we were closing loans in the high 3s and low 4s at that time. But basically since February, rates have continued to jump up quite a bit. So right now it's not possible, even if you put a substantial down payment. But you know, that being said, rates are and cash flow positive properties are still out there. So that is looks like all the questions. Let me just check the chat box.
All great questions. What a fabulous turnout.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, one more just popped in. So it says, are these variable rates and change with the market? There's a number of options. So most of the rates that we provide and most of the loan programs that we provide are fixed rates. We do have a few lenders that are starting to offer adjustable rate mortgages again. So those are going to be fixed for a certain period of time and then adjusting after that. So a typical term on that would be like a 5-1 ARM or 7-1 ARM, which means rates fixed for 5 years, then it adjusts every year after that. So good question. A lot of times the rates are fixed. But now, we're starting to see the arms come back into the market. I think that is it. One more question just popped up. This must be somebody from our Canadian market. So it says, do you deal with RBC, TD, or BMO? We don't. I mean, the banks that we deal with are all US banks. They're in the US, and their focus, they have a focus specifically on foreign national programs. That's very important to keep in mind, because if you're buying a property in the US and you approach a bank, most times you're going to get pretty far into the process before the bank realizes that you're overseas and they can't do the loan. So it's very important to work with a team and a lender that understands the foreign national process. And we get a number of calls each week that people say, I was supposed to be closing on the home next week. My lender found out that my income comes from overseas, or I'm living overseas, and it's a knockout for their loan program. So that's why I was mentioning earlier, it's very important to work with a team that understands this.
Yeah, and in addition, Nikhil, let's piggyback on to your point, right? So like the 30-year fixed mortgages, right? Like that itself is a very unique provision that US market offers, and it would cushion some of the effect of the higher rates as well.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so that looks like all of the questions. So one just popped in again about the prepayment penalty. So again, it's usually the first 3 years. If you sell the property within those first 3 years, you're likely going to be subject to a penalty. What that penalty is, we can discuss. It changes from bank to bank. After year 3, no penalty. So with that being said, we will thank you for joining us. We hope you found this informative. I hope you can see that the partnership between our company and HomeAboard is strong, and we're able to really make it a full service program and make the process for you buying a property in the US as easy as possible. So Amresh, Michele, anything you want to add before we conclude?
No, just thank you everybody for coming. And
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say the same thing, so you might as well complete.
Great minds think alike.
All right, thank you everybody. Thanks again for joining. For the people that have direct questions, we will reach out to you after this, and feel free to reach out to our team or HomeAbroad's team with any questions you might have. Thanks a lot, and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Good night.